So I read the Akashic Records, which is how your soul is designed in the universe. Akashic Records can be read in a lot of different ways. It all depends on what the reader's frame of reference is. Okay, that's why one Akashic reader will be different than another Akashic reader. Okay. So I personally go in and I look, depending on the type of reading. So the biggest reading that I do is the, I think I call it Soul Realignment right now, which is actually trademark from the lady who created the modality that I learned that particular reading from. Okay. And so Soul Realignment goes in and looks at where your soul originated, what it does in between lives, sort of some of its history and how it's designed, some of your different traits and stuff like that. And it really gives you, the first part of the reading gives you a very big overview of who you are as a soul. And then looking at, I always bring this in a little bit more to try and ground it and how you're supposed to be expressing in this life. Really want to look at how because your soul is vast, right? It's so big. But I want to look at how your soul experience is related to the life that you're currently living. Okay, so that's my primary goal, which then leads me into looking at your past history. So I look at the past lives, but I focus in that reading on looking at it in regards to how it is affecting your life now. So sometimes it'll pull up things within this current life. Sometimes it'll pull up past life stuff, and it can go way back. I've gone in all the way back, Lemurian lives and stuff like that as well. So they can go right back that way, and clearing up the root cause of blocks and restrictions that are happening in your energy force now. So that's kind of that, and it's a really big overview. It takes about I do the work before I meet with you, and then I report to you the work because it's quite in-depth research that goes into it. And then we spend about an hour on the phone, and I go over everything that I found and how it's affecting you, and we work through that. And then I give you a prayer that transmutes the energies over the course of 3 weeks, so 21 days. And then towards the end of the 21 days or just after, I like to meet with you again for another 30 minutes or so, just to see, okay, so now the energy has moved. What are you going to do with that? What do you do with this opportunity now that you have so much more clarity? How are you going to move forward? Then more commonly, and I kind of mix them, I think they're listed differently. Well, there is a slight difference between them. So anyhow, there is my soul clarity coaching session. And that is very specifically looking at what is going on in your life right now. So this can bring in all sorts of different information from straightening out and clarifying your thoughts around spirituality, how it affects your life, how you are a spiritual being. It can be all that kind of stuff. It can be highlighting a few blocks that are happening as to how you're showing up in your relationships, how you're manifesting different things in your job, in your world, what career you want to move to. And I open it up and really just draw on anything that comes. Okay. Now, where it varies from a matrix reading, because generally when I do soul coaching, I have an overview of a matrix reading. I don't do it as in depth. So when I do specifically a matrix reading, I will go a little bit more in depth, and I will see how all of the energy centers are actually weighted to show up in your life. And then I look at how you're showing up fourth dimensionally and third dimensionally in alignment to how your soul is wanting to show up in this life, how it's intended to show up. And then I look at what is causing those blocks and how they're related to each other. Okay, so the two kind of blur together. The matrix reading is a little bit more in depth specifically to energy centers and stuff. So it's kind of a fuzzy line between the two. Okay. But matrix reading is sort of a little bit more analytical.
Okay.
Than what the coaching is. Coaching won't necessarily dive into the analytics of why it's showing up, well, of how it's showing up, but rather how to get rid of it. So, and then I do like relationship readings, which I will look into. That's usually you take any kind of relationship with two people. And so the person it can be, if both people are coming to the reading, I will really go into both aspects of how they're showing up in relationships. Generally, it's pretty rare to get both. Usually there's only one that will show up and wants to clear the relationship. And so I will look at how that person is showing up in their relationships in general, and then also how they are showing up in the relationship. What is the history of the relationship? Why is there struggle now? And how do we clear it?
That's what I find interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, going a little more depth into that. And then what else is on? I can't remember what other services. I have a whole bunch. Those are kind of the highlight ones. Was there another one that you wanted to know about?
I mean, right off the bat, all of those offers sound so exciting in my system. Like I could definitely benefit from like all of them. I think the one that I was most drawn to was the first one, the soul alignment one.
I think so too.
Yeah, that one sounds really expansive and exactly what I've been wanting to exactly what I've been looking for. I just want to feel more
have a better understanding of who
yeah.
you are in your relationships.
Well, in general too, just like
in general,
having the just connecting with that soul, with my soul more and with more clarity. Like I felt like I used to be very aligned with my higher self, and I've had some kind of more difficult things come up over the last few years, and I feel like just having that bigger awareness, that bigger picture would be so supportive. I feel like I've spent so much time like zooming in on my problems and dwelling and picking myself up and then falling down, and I think that just like getting back with like the bigger picture, the bigger meaning, the bigger purpose, and the soul truth would just be like so juicy and just like exactly what I need.
It is the most powerful of all the readings. It's something you only need to do once in your life.
Yeah, wow.
Because you get all the information, it's not going to change, right?
Yeah.
After that, I mean, it kind of gives you almost like a clean slate in a lot of ways. Not to say that you're still not going to have challenges that enter your life. Not to say that you're going to, it's part of being human.
Yeah.
Challenges, we're going to have things come up, genetics, all sorts of different stuff. But it does, it's the bulk of it. It really gets the bulk of everything going for you. So yeah, it is the best value. It is the one I recommend the most, but coaching is probably the one I do the most.
Yeah.
Both of them I'm passionate about.